So, what's next for Halo Infinite's story? This is a 10-year game after all, so we should expect the story to expand over time and for the Zeta Halo ring to evolve into something completely different a year from now. By next year, I would bet that Zeta Halo will look, play and feel completely different, and with the campaign being classed as a live service game, I can imagine this will be the route that 343 will take. Now, I want you guys to hear me out here, as this could be the format in which Halo Infinite will evolve and give us DLC or additional campaign content moving forward. This will go along nicely with the live service model and give us something other than just a new story to explore on Zeta Halo, which in my opinion would be really cool. If you guys do go on to enjoy this video, a like would be very much appreciated, and if you do want to see more Halo content coming every single day, then be sure to check out the videos on the channel and subscribe. Why not? It's completely free. But without further ado guys, let's get straight into it. So, how will DLC work in Halo Infinite? What will the map look like and how will it evolve over time? Well, similar to the Battle Royale games that we have out currently, so for example Fortnite, Warzone and others, the maps are typically remain the same. So you'll have the base map, and over time or throughout that chapter or season, it will evolve with new locations, new areas that you can explore, and just generally to make it look fresh and feel fresh for the player. Now, Halo Infinite is very unique in terms of the way that it's set up and the way that the lore will allow this map to evolve, and that's the really positive part about this. The part of the ring that we're on for Zeta Halo was destroyed essentially by Cortana within the Silent Auditorium, meaning that the part of the ring that we were on has been rebuilt in some capacity. What if the map evolves over time by Zeta Halo repairing itself, and that's the part of the ring that we will evolve and expand to over the next year or two of DLC, and then eventually maybe in the next 2-3 years we have a whole new part of the ring or a completely different location in the universe to explore. On screen right now you'll see a picture of the Halo Infinite map. This is an overview of exactly what we can see at the moment and how the map works at this time. Now, my theory and what I think probably will happen, or what I think would be a really cool idea and that fits really well into the lore, is that in the places around the map which we could probably see an additional island being, or will fit an additional island or something like that, I think that this is how DLC is going to come, or different parts of the ring or new maps in quotation marks will appear for different locations to explore on the base map we have so far. So rather than having a brand new map for Zeta Halo, why not just expand on the one we've got already? And as I mentioned, the lore allows us to do this. The ring is repairing itself, right? So it only makes sense for eventually maybe 5-6 years or so from now, where there's loads of DLC, we have a lot of the storyline, for the ring to have fully repaired itself. Now, the Zeta Halo ring can't stay broken forever. It just doesn't make any sense. The ring needs to repair itself to continue on with the lore and the canon of Halo in general. The monitors on the ring will not allow the ring to stay broken. That's how the lore works in the game, and it does indicate that this ring does need to be rebuilt. Now, this could also be some form of design choice from the developers, or a tactic to basically just say that this ring will repair itself over time, so expect different things coming. Now, we know that a lot of things such as biomes and stuff were cut from the game initially, so snowy biomes, desert biomes, waterfalls, giant waterfalls, forests, the lot. Whatever you can think of in terms of a biome, it was probably in Halo Infinite, along with dynamic weather, the day-night cycle, a proper day-night cycle, not the sort of the dusky night that we have at the moment, a proper pitch black night cycle. All of this was cut from the game initially due to development issues, and again, there's been loads of issues. We've done multiple videos on the channel, so if you want to hear about all of those you don't know already, then go check them out previously. But what if, hear me out here guys, what if in DLC we don't get a brand new map ever? We just stay on the same map, Zeta Halo, and maybe in 5 years or so when the story expands we can leave Zeta Halo and go somewhere else. But whilst we're on this ring and the ring is rebuilding itself, what if over time we get different parts of this ring that are being rebuilt, and that's where we explore the different parts of the ring and get the additional content? If we have 1 DLC per year, for example, or even 2 smaller DLCs per year, what if we have additional parts? So for example, a snowy biome could just appear out of nowhere after it's been rebuilt. Maybe there's already a structure as to how this part of the ring should look, and the parts that the biomes that we don't have so far have coincidentally all been destroyed by Cortana and the Silent Auditorium. So it's Cortana's fault we don't have any biomes. What if in 2 years from now this map could look completely different? It could be completely filled out with snowy biomes, it could have a desert part of the map, it could even also have a watery part are, with like a giant waterfall with secret doors, caves and buildings. I just think this could be the way that they're going with it, and as I mentioned, going off the lore and the canon, this makes way more sense than just dipping out and going to a new map. By repairing itself, it will allow us to have different parts of the ring that we've not explored yet, and I think this is how the world is going to expand in Zeta Halo. I think that in a year or two's time, we're going to have a huge map, and it was mentioned that over 2/3 of the campaign was cut, and the Zeta Halo ring on the map that we're on was meant to be 3 times as big. So maybe over this period of DLC, this is where we get that original idea of the large map 3 times as big, and maybe one day we'll be able to play that with the different biomes and things like that. Guys, let me know what you think down below, but I do think this is the way the Halo Infinite's campaign and DLC and map expansion is going to work, because it fits in with the lore, fits in with the canon of Halo Infinite. It allows us to explore the parts that we love already in Zeta Halo whilst going to new parts and having the map ever evolve. This for me is the perfect way for it to be done. Starting off with DLC 1, what should we expect? Well, I feel as though that a lot of plot points in the Halo Infinite storyline will be fleshed out, and people's frustrations around the lack of transparency and multiple issues will be answered, such as: where is UNSC Infinity and Captain Lasky? How is Atriox still alive, and how did he survive the destruction of the Silent Auditorium? How and why was Cortana on Zeta Halo, and how did her and Atriox first meet and why? What did the weapon call herself? Who are the Endless, and how did they survive the blast of the Halo rings? What are the Forerunner's lies that the Harbinger is speaking of? Will we move to different parts of Zeta Halo and expand the story in that way? Will offensive bias be shown in-game? I mean, I could probably go on for an hour talking about all of these things that we don't really have clarity to in the Halo Infinite story. And I do feel as though that's a big reason as to why a lot of people are annoyed at this game. It gives you huge blue balls and lets your imagination theorize around what to expect next, which can be a good thing to build hype and suspense, but typically you'd expect a lot of these, what I would call major plot points, to be at least explained in an audio log somewhere. As understandable as it is for a 10-year game to give you blue balls and constant cliffhangers, it gets me excited but also really upset that I've probably had to wait an entire year to play this DLC and find out what happens next. Anyway, rant over. What to expect in DLC 1. I think that of course the Endless will be freed, and we'll understand more about the lore and the Endless, why they were imprisoned on Zeta Halo, and how they survived the blast of the Halo rings. Of course, we'll also know how Atriox survived and how he reached the containment facility in which the Endless were imprisoned. I also think the Flood will be teased some more as well, and maybe we'll see them in game around DLC 3 or DLC 4. They teased the Silex to us in the base game, and I don't think they will throw all of their eggs into one basket with DLC 1. So I do think this tease will carry on for a few DLCs, and even in the books or the TV series. I actually think that DLC 1 will begin with a cutscene very similar to the legendary ending, like in Halo 5's legendary ending, as we mentioned before. Almost like the game just carries on from that point, and again giving you the exact same feeling from the very start of the game, making it a seamless transition from the base game into the DLC. Similar to of course Halo Combat Evolved, where we meet the Covenant for the first time and they become our enemy on the Pillar of Autumn. Well, maybe we'll be recreating that mystery and initial interactions in Infinite. On the UNSC Infinity? Imagine how fucking sick that would be. Picture this, right? The weapon picks up communication from Captain Lasky, and it was on the UNSC Infinity crash-landed on Zeta Halo. So we use a slip-space translocation portal to teleport to the Infinity. And there it is, just like a horror movie, using your torch to traverse through the Infinity, hearing different noises that we've never really heard before, and hearing scutters along the floor, things in the vents above you and below you, different noises, howls, stuff like that.
Okay, now say bye-bye. Good, and can you sing?
This is so fucking creepy. And then eventually, we find Captain Lasky, who is imprisoned or tied up in the command center of the UNSC Infinity. This is where, of course, we first meet the Endless, maybe one of the leaders of the Endless, and then Atriox appears out of nowhere, saying like to the Master Chief, "Oh, we meet again, or something really cool to obviously think back and reminisce to the very first cutscene of Halo Infinite, of how obviously Atriox beat the Chief, and going into stuff like that, bringing that story back up again. I think that'd be really, really cool. And yeah, man, and the story starts there. This also means that characters in-game, like the Chief, the pilot, and the weapon, are learning about the Endless and of course what happened to Atriox at the same time as we are. At some point, we need to know what happened to the UNSC Infinity and Captain Lasky. I mean, maybe they were captured, and when we find the Infinity, it's all scrapped up and the Banished have taken over it and used it for scrap and stuff like that, and just imagine how sick that would be, you know? I think that the next installment of the Halo Infinite campaign is going to give us a lot of juicy details that we're looking for, and maybe even offensive bias? A man can dream, right? I mean, there are still remnants of a mendicant bias also around Zeta Halo, and obviously the main part of him is buried in the Halo 3 art. Maybe. Mendicant bias could make a return in DLC. Again, a separate video coming for that. Now, moving on to some, what I would call probably leaks, which were, of course, right under our noses this entire time, that actually recently we got some more information around. So, there was a reveal trailer that was given to us a while back now. It was a long time ago, one of the first ones, I believe, showing a scene that wasn't in the Halo Infinite campaign. Now, at the beginning, and of course, before the game released, we all thought that this was part of the campaign, but of course, playing through it now, it's pretty apparent that it's not in there. Now, of course, we need to take into account that up to a third of Halo Infinite's campaign was apparently scrapped due to bad development issues at one stage, and this is why the campaign came across quite jarring for people, and why key characters were killed off, aka Cortana, off screen and without us really having any interaction with them. I mean, just take Escharum for example. It was essentially only communicating with us through a glorified audio log the entire game, and we only see him really when we fight him. Anyway, the scene I'm referring to is this on screen right now. The Chief with a mysterious 3 bright lights inside of his visor. Guys, you know how we thought this was mendicant bias or offensive bias? Well, I don't think it is. I'm sorry. Look, I'm sorry. I don't want to get everyone's hype up here, but I don't think it is. No, God! I mean, we don't know that, but I'd love to get your thoughts and opinions down below in the comments on what you think this is. But in one of the art books released recently, we got this image here. This, of course, lines up and looks extremely similar to the 3 bright lights in Chief's armor. It even matches with the triangular lights and the way that they're positioned. And in the image, it's dark. Now, what could this thing be? I mean, this was obviously part of the campaign at one stage. It probably will be part of the DLC now that some of it's been cut. But what is this thing? Could it be offensive bias? I mean, we don't really know what offensive bias really looks like. I mean, there are a couple of concept arts on essentially him looking very similar to Mendicant, but we don't know. He could be completely different. The design of him could be very different. It lines up with the 3 lights. Could it be offensive bias? We don't really know. Do let me know in the comments down below what you think this might be. Some form of monitor, or could it be a new design of a Sentinel Enforcer from Halo 2? Again, really interesting. I don't think it would be, because I think it just has a completely different design, but it's like the same size and it looks very similar in parts, so potentially I thought I'd add that in there. But yeah, let me know down below what you think of this as well. And this is like, I wouldn't say typically a leak, but it's something that maybe show us what we could expect and some of the different enemies or different things we could see in Halo Infinite's DLC. So yeah, let me know what you think this scene is from. And finally, how will the DLC work? Well, there's actually been a little bit of talk around this within the community between a couple of leakers and industry insiders. Now, I don't know if this is confirmed or not, so please take it with a pinch of salt. Each DLC for the campaign will be spaced approximately a year apart, so potentially within the 10-year plan, we could have like 10 DLCs go leading up to the end. Again, with doing this and making this much content, again, making a campaign is not easy. And if there are development issues within that year, then of course the campaign is going to suffer a lot from that, which of course means that doing one campaign a year might not be a feasible option. So again, this is why this leak might not be correct. We could only get 5 DLCs for Halo Infinite spanning 2 years apart. So it's like a full game, if you know what I mean. And then that means they can make a full campaign. If it all goes to plan, we should get a DLC every year, which I think would be great. Just imagine a fully fledged 5 to 8 hour campaign to play through each year leading up to the next title after the 10-year plan. Knowing I've got a DLC to play through every year and more expanded lore I can learn about, it'll get me just hyped like hell for the next edition of the game. But of course, they need to do it right and they need to nail it. Halo Infinite's DLC needs to be good. And of course, it needs to flesh out all of the missing points from the base game, with new audio logs, lore, characters, and maybe even throwback characters. Like, imagine if the Arbiter just turned up out of nowhere. Just turned up on Zeta Halo like, yeah, I'm here to help, boys. How sick would that be, bro?
Were it so easy.
But guys, let me know what you think down below, and of course your thoughts and opinions on this. How do you think DLC is going to work in Halo Infinite? What do you want to see in Halo Infinite, and what key characters would you like to see return eventually? Do let me know down below, but of course don't forget to drop a like, guys, if you did enjoy today's video. Subscribe if you are brand new to the channel, it'd be very much appreciated. We do Halo Infinite content every single day, and I'm going to be branching out into other different sectors like multiplayer and just general Halo lore as well going into the future. So yeah, exciting times ahead. But guys, have a great rest of your day, take care, and speak soon.